Hi everybody, it's John. VEDA Day 10. Yeah, I spent yesterday evening watching the Pat Tillman documentary. He is the U.S. or former NFL football player that cut short his career to join the Army Rangers and served 2 tours of duty and was killed in the second tour of duty in Afghanistan by what turned out to be friendly fire. And the controversy, if you're not familiar with it, is that the United States government, the military, the topmost officials tried to cover it up and make it sound like that he was there, was first killed by enemy fire and then heroically trying to save his platoon. And it turned out after the cover-up was kind of exposed that he was indeed trying to help his platoon, but he was killed by kind of almost criminal negligence, or that was never actually proven. But his squad was very undisciplined in terms of actually killing him, and should not have if they were following proper protocols. And in a subsequent cover-up, they burned his clothing, they destroyed his diary, they tried to make him into this propaganda tool for the war. And it kind of leads me, I'll put a link in the description box if you want to read about the cover-up and kind of how extensive it was and how his family kept pushing for the truth to kind of come out. And the Pat Tillman looked the part of a classic soldier. He's good looking, he's chiseled, he's strong and muscular. He's just kind of the epitome of an athletic person, obviously playing in professional football in the United States. And it leads to me to kind of my greater point in how there is in the United States culture, generally speaking, there is a soldier worship that permeates society and media, and in terms of newspapers and when you're watching athletic events. I mean, anytime you talked about soldiers, our heroes, protecting our freedom. I mean, it's a mantra. It's something that you virtually hear no criticism of the military in the United States. And I'm not necessarily criticizing, on a low level, like everyone in the military is evil or out to kill people. And I'm not saying that. I'm not saying there aren't genuinely people that are profoundly sacrificing. Maybe even not of their own will, what they don't even know what they're getting into, but once they commit to it, they do, and they commit to their other comrades, and I'm not directly criticizing that aspect of it, but there is an uncritical look of the military, and when they talk about the military, they talk about, they're talking about the whole unit, the propaganda machine, the way that it manipulates the media, the way it lies to the media. This is just one example. There's the Jessica Lynch situation was very similar to the Pat Tillman situation, where they tried to make a hero out of this person that really wasn't necessarily what she was made out to be, and was exposed. And again, these are things that are done to prop up a military and to prop up a justification to basically invade and meddle in other countries. And it's if you don't live in the United States, I don't think you realize how complicit almost everyone is to this, and how few people speak out against the actions of what the military ultimately does, in terms of collateral damage, and in terms of propaganda, in terms of the way that they have to recruit people because it's a volunteer fighting force. And I think that it's also, there was in the Vietnam War, the last kind of major war the United States fought, where there were lots of casualties, and it was a long, drawn-out affair. There was the My Lai massacre, where it was United States soldiers just massacring huge amounts of civilian, like 300, 500 civilians were killed in one event, and they just went in there and just laid waste to a village, like shooting people at point-blank range and rounding them up. And this kind of created this baby killer type stereotype of the soldier in Vietnam. And I think that after the Vietnam War was over, I mean, some of these stories, obviously were true, and this was occurring, but it kind of unfairly labeled all soldiers as that type of monster. And I think that there's been a kind of an overreaction to not do that to soldiers, but that has been used as a tool to not criticize anything really about the way that we fight wars and how wars are fought in general, and how bloody and awful they are intrinsically, and that you do end up being a baby killer in certain instances, but that's just kind of taboo. And I'm not saying that American soldiers, go out and just are bloodlust and wanting to kill babies or civilians, but that is a big part of it, and a small percentage actually do that in terms of the mental strain, or just they have mental disabilities or cognitively problems that that kind of takes away their abilities to make moral judgments in those type of situations. That's also well documented in Afghanistan and Iraq as well. And these things are generally not talked about, and they're not at all scrutinized in a way that I think would undermine support. And the wars are, I don't say the wars are 100% supported by all citizenry. That's not true at all. But I think that it is very much in the interest of the military to downplay these and to put pressure on society not to talk about the facts on the ground. And yeah, I don't know of really a solution to this, because I think that it goes into a deep patriotism in the United States, that since the Army is an extension of the people in a way, that the United States does such ill to societies under the guise of trying to help them, to protect our freedoms, to give them liberty. I mean, these mantras that you hear over and over and over, and you have for the last now 10 years in the United States, since we've gone into major conflicts in Afghanistan and Iraq, and now Libya. I really recommend watching a documentary. I think it was really well done. I mean, again, those type of documentaries are, they have a slant to them. This is very much a pro kind of Pat Tillman kind of is this person that is, is a cover up, but it was, kind of very critical of the military, and kind of has that vid. But I felt like it wasn't obviously unfair in terms of who they were talking, the facts they were bringing to light anyway. So yeah, I rambled about this long enough. Check that out, and I'm going to probably talk more about this tomorrow, but in a different way. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye-bye.